Welcome back to the Lockdown Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Wonder, and today we will be talking about how I view myself as a writer and how it has changed through my Writing 105 class. So I would say that for the new writing strategies that I've developed, I think that at the beginning of this class, I really disliked writing. I really disliked reading. I did not like all the readings that we had to do, but I did them, and I think that after going over the discussions and we putting up all the ideas in class, I think that the new writing strategies that I found was to really expand like my research and how much research I had to do for all these projects. I would say that before this class, whenever I approached a problem or a question for a research project or just in general for a writing project, I would Google it and I would just pick up the first link that it said, and I would use that as my answer to the question. And throughout this class, we have definitely learned, at least I have definitely learned, that the first source is more often than not the source that you're looking for. Just because the wording of your Google search is not exactly right for these sources or whatever it may be, but the first source almost always does not quite answer the question that you're presenting correctly. So definitely for my second and third, the literature review and the research paper, I definitely had to take a lot more time researching for all these projects because I needed the sources to be correct and to really explain my work as best as possible. And I would say that in addition to that, I had to do a lot more research than I've ever really done before. Normally, like in my literature review, I used, I think, 4 or 5 scholarly sources, which I thought was a pretty decent amount. And then when I got to my research paper, I had over 25 citations in a short 9-10 page paper. And so I had never really had that many citations before. So I would say that just the sheer amount of sources and citations and citations of ideas that I've had to do in this class has really developed, because I never realized how many ideas that you had to, I guess, cite, because it's it's not yours. So I think that a new goal that I would have in my writing for myself as a writer in general, I would say would be to whenever I write, I would want to explain my ideas as clearly and as accurately as possible. I think that before this class, I think that I still have a little bit of problems explaining myself as clearly as I think I am. I think I need to try to articulate my words as concise as they need to be. And whenever explaining a research paper, I think I don't quite give as much detail as I need to, because I would have read the paper, but everybody reading my research paper has not read the research that I have. So I would need to clearly explain what the research is saying in a better way. So yeah, and then the accuracy of the paper, I need to read it over again so I don't misrepresent whatever they're saying. I would say that my strengths as a writer, as of right now, I think my strengths are, especially after this class, I think a lot of the strengths were being able to give a 1-sentence synopsis of a paper, or whenever doing research, I was pretty able to explain what the research paper was and then explain what the finding was in a very short amount of time, which is really, I personally felt like that was a really big skill to have, especially when doing all these research papers, because it allows you to explain to your audience like the basic gist of what is happening in the paper. And so like my goal said, I could give a synopsis of the paper, but I wanted to be able to explain it better in terms that people would understand. So if like in my research paper, I talked about how like the thyroid hormone in sheep did not produce any more secretion when adrenaline was inputted. So I think that I did a really good job in my paper of explaining who the study was, what the study was on, like the thyroid in sheep, and then explaining that they found that there was no extra thyroid secretion because of adrenaline in the sheep. But I think I need to do a better job, and I've had to rewrite this a bunch, of explaining like the significance of that. So like just because the thyroid does not secrete anymore, like the people understand that, but they don't necessarily understand like why like that is important. And so I think that the new goal that I had for myself is to try to clearly and accurately show that the importance and the connection clearly and accurately from the research paper to whatever my research question is. And then finally, I would say that the me as a writer explains me in person, because as a writer, I've definitely grown to be more and more like research and evidence-based, and I think that has really showed it in me as a person. I think that I've become more and more evidence-based and factual through this writing process, because I needed to find so many more facts, and I've become much better at researching through looking at multiple sources and cross-checking the sources. And I think that because I developed those skills as a writer, I think that I've become a better like evidence-based person in general. So yeah, that's my podcast. Thank you.